Welcome to CSBJ Radio. CSBJ Radio is the premier online business talk radio show in the Southeast. CSBJ proactively connects, informs, and engages its listeners in all aspects of small business. Discover the entrepreneur in you with CSBJ Radio. Now, here's your host, Greg Wilson.
Hello, welcome to another edition of CSBJ Radio. I am your host, Greg Wilson, the owner and publisher of Connection Small Business Journal. You can always find us online at www.connectmybusiness.me. Again, that's www.connectmybusiness.me. Follow us utilizing every aspect of social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, you name it. And that is following us at Connect My Biz. As you can tell in the background, we are broadcasting live right here in Columbus, Georgia. And this one is actually a new series that we're starting, our Conversations with a New Entrepreneur. Conversations with a New Entrepreneur. Today we have on deck a retired sergeant out of the United States Army, Sergeant Dejaun Bryant. Did I pronounce that right?
Yeah, Dejuan Bryant. Yeah.
Dejuan Bryant, how you doing today, man?
I'm blessed. I'm doing good. Yourself?
Good. And you and I met here in Columbus, Georgia, at a Power Hour event. You were invited out by someone, and I really wanted to sit down with you. Number one, you are a new entrepreneur. You're out the gate. You're freshly out of the military. You have a lot of good things, man. I've listened to you talk, and it's pretty inspiring to hear you talk about finances and the different things that you're doing. But you are the owner of
DRD.
DRD. Dress Right Dress. We know, and by me being prior military, you being, of course, prior military, we know what the heck that means. I like that. How did you come up with that with the name?
I was brainstorming about the business and about what we do, what I want to be able to do in the community, as far as inspiring others. And like I said, I went back to my roots as far as the military. And what I realized and think about, I said from day one, from basic training, everything became a dress right dress, a way of organizing everything, having things pretty much in the right order,
right,
in a disciplined manner, and that discipline came about for success. You know.
Wow.
So I say dress right dress.
Dress right dress. Well, that's actually a perfect name for a business. It means so much to us. So how many years did you serve?
14 years, 11 months.
14 years, 11 months. All right. So how was that time?
That was I joined the Army in 2001, June. So September 11 happened. Mm-hmm. I was in AIT, and from that point on, our people were like, well, you're a new bunch, you're going to be going to war. From there, I went to Fort Stewart. So the journey began, you grow up.
Exactly.
Quickly. I was 20, just turned 22, still you had to grow up. Mm-hmm. And growing up in the military is a lot different because there's a lot of discipline behind it, a lot of structure behind it. And just being in combat, that was like just an eye-opener to
yes, sir,
another side of life that you never thought you'd be able to witness, don't want to witness.
Right.
So there's a lot of growing up, a lot of maturity, and you mature in the Army fast.
Quickly.
You got to.
Right.
So, but it was a ride. It was ups, it was downs. The resiliency of it and being able to have that mental resiliency is very important to ride those waves. Exactly.
And I'm actually glad, man, that you actually mentioned being resilient, because that is definitely something that we as entrepreneurs, we need. Those lonely nights, those lonely days, those days when the phone doesn't ring, the days when people unfriend you on Facebook and they unlike your post. You're gonna have to have some resiliency about yourself. And even before we go any step further, man, from one veteran to another, number one, I want to say thank you for your service. And I'm sure that a lot of individuals that are listening to this podcast, and again, we're broadcasting this thing live right now on Facebook and Twitter, they also say thank you for your service.
I appreciate that.
All right.
As well.
Yes, sir. So let's dive into the business of Dress Right Dress. Some of the services that you're going to be offering. Let's talk about those for a little bit.
Dress Right Dress is into hosting fashion shows, mm-hmm. and through the fashion shows, it's one about order, but it's about inspiring people as well through fashion, through getting out there, raising their self-esteem level, and being able to perform. Mm-hmm. what I find out is that a lot of times what affects people is not so much is how we think people view us.
Right.
But like through the military, you learn to have that mentality, a mindset that you're the best, and you got to go out there and you got to get it. So that's kind of like through the fashion shows we do that. Through networking, other people do that as well, and also through I do motivational speaking. And that's one of the topics I talk about motivational speaking is that your greatest asset is how you view yourself and viewing yourself honestly. Not so much depending upon how others view you, but you want to make sure that how you view yourself, people see you that same way. So you want to be able to put out a product of yourself that's positive, that's the top of the line, but you also be willing enough and humble enough to accept the feedback of areas that you may have to correct and change. It's kind of like in the military, go through those monthly council statements and you realize, oh, I'm not the stuff this month, but next month I see where I messed up at and I can be better for next month, and stuff like that. So it's taking the same way and being able to input into the community a mindset of being able to, have like a group economics, group together, people being able to enhance each other because a lot of times, we can complain about the community, but if the community isn't doing anything for the community, then it's endless.
Exactly. You said something, man, that I really, number one, I agree with wholeheartedly, and that is something that I talk about in business a lot to ensure that, your brand image and the brand perception are the same. How customers or your employers or employees, church folk, how they perceive you is really how you perceive yourself, and that is, something that definitely needs to be done.
That's something that I think just, not just on an individual level, for people from the household, from us coming up as from teenagers, everything else, we invest in how we want others to see us, and that investment comes into a part of our self-esteem and how you have a lot of people who wants to be accepted, so they gravitate towards sometimes not the right groups just to be accepted. But what you find out is that they just want to be accepted on an image that people see them as. So they have this image that they want to be the best.
Right.
And if a group of people is accepting you at being the best where you are, then you're gonna go there. Right. But if they're not being honest about you being the best and hey, this is where your flaws are at, then it's gonna be very misleading.
Very good. Let me ask you this. You're saying a lot in that. So is your target audience the younger generation, or do you serve all?
I serve all generations.
Okay.
All generations. I like to talk to the younger generation because I think that's the generation that we definitely have to focus on because they're like, I'm Generation X. The generation now is Millennium generation. But what we have to realize, though, is that the Millennium generation is our leadership generation right now, and they're leaping and bounding what Generation X did. So we have to be able to focus on them and try to steer them in the right direction towards the future. But I focus on young adults, young women, hopefully being able to go into connect with another business person to be able to go inside the prison system and talk to young men and women as well, because I don't just in my personal, the mistakes that they made is the mistakes.
Exactly.
But the mindset has to be changed.
There you go.
If we change the mindset, they can walk back out and we can be able to, give them the tools to be able to walk out here now. And unfortunately, we're in a generation we're so materialistic. It's about materialistic value, and that becomes very misleading because that's not your value isn't the materialistic clothes you wear or the car you drive.
Right.
It's your mindset of how you see yourself.
Right.
And a lot of times that's misleading for those coming out of the system, those going into the system, and even in the community, parts of the community that's falling apart. Okay.
Man, you mentioned going into the prisons. Once we conclude this podcast, I'm also give you some contact information because I volunteer, every Tuesday night inside of a prison. So,
oh man.
Yeah. So, like I said, you never know, man. I think that people meet for a reason. You and I met for a reason. And so I definitely want to get you plugged in with who you need to talk to because it is a need. What you're talking about today with that particular generation definitely is a need as well. And in addition, during another conversation that you and I have had, you talked about financial literacy. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Oh, man. The financial literacy, one of the things that I was never taught financial education, even coming up in high school, stuff like that. I wasn't taught that. But what I've learned is that education, finances, and power all go together. It's kind of like, just giving a brief example. Next to the White House, people don't know, is the Treasury Department. Mm-hmm. It's the reason why power and money sits together. Right. They go hand in hand. But another thing that we have to also understand is that education also goes within there, because we have a lot of people dropping out of high schools and things like that, but that education, that piece of paper, that degree, that associate's, bachelor's, whatever, the higher we go, it's a tool as a transfer to unlock you to other levels of life, right? To be able to go do other things. Now, what we find out is that, I forgot what percentage, but I was looking on it, but a percentage of crimes are committed because of finances, because of money. People lack that. Right. So, and they lack that because drop out of high school, drop out of this right there. So it's not that a person wants to commit the crime, but they want to be able to provide for themselves or their family. So they have to commit a crime in a way to sustain themselves, and that becomes the growing thing. I'm from Chicago, Illinois, and growing up in Chicago, I wasn't the best youth. Right. But to be on the streets, you realize, and looking back, you realize that the everything revolved around somebody being able to provide for money. Exactly. It was a money thing. It wasn't necessarily people wanted to do bad things, but they did bad things because they wanted money. Right. So what I teach is that we have to be able to, especially, I'm not racist, but we have to focus into a way of African American community and our youth. Right. And money. And make them understand that the power of the dollar is very real, because we can see the power of the dollar happening in other ethnic communities and how they take it and how they use it.
Let's do me a favor. Let's pause right here just for a quick commercial break, and when we come back, I really want you to let's dig in on that. It's definitely needed in our community, the African American community. Let's dig into that after this quick commercial break. Okay.
You invest countless amounts of money on firearms to protect your family against invasion. You pay for an alarm system to keep your home secure. How are you going to protect them when severe weather strikes? If the answer is to crawl in your bathtub with a mattress over your head, then you need to listen up. Safety Shelter is here to make sure that your family is safe and secure during the most threatening of weather situations. Their storm shelters exceed all FEMA safety standards to bring your family the highest quality protection. Their above-ground safe rooms are bolted to concrete, which means they can withstand any weather that may come your way. Severe weather will strike whether you're prepared or not. Make sure that you've made the call to Safety Shelter before it does. No matter the size of your family, they have customizable shelter options to fit your family's needs. Call them right now, 1-800-462-3648, and ask about your free WYDE listener consultation and their affordable financing options. Or visit them online at stormshelter.com. Safety Shelter, safe and secure for any situation.
Okay, and we're back recording live here in Columbus, Georgia. Conversations with a new entrepreneur, and I would encourage you definitely to reach out for those of you who are in Alabama. Safety Shelter, that telephone number is going to be 1-800-462-3648. Birmingham just experienced a tornado last Monday. No deaths. We thank God for that. But definitely reach out to Safety Shelter, 1-800-462. Again, 1-800-462-3648. We're sitting here today with Mr. Dejuan Bryant, Sergeant, retired Sergeant, Dejuan Bryant. He started a company, Dress Right Dress, and before we went to commercial break, he was dealing with and talking about financial literacy, specifically in the African American community. So let's continue that conversation, Dejuan.
Yes, financial literacy in the African American community is huge, and it starts off at youth and how we view money. Mm-hmm. At a young age, I was viewed that what you wore, and a lot of times, it's just in minority communities as well, what we wear becomes to represent who we are. The Jordans, the Nike. When I was coming up, it was the pullovers. Yeah. You used to have the starter pullovers, starter caps. Right. And you were viewed as somebody, if you came outside, dressed up. Right. Per se. Right. So you took, let's say an outfit was probably like, back then maybe $350 or whatever. Mm-hmm.